2 or 3 if it goes that long. She's going to, because she gets frustrated, she's going to do something stupid, make a dumb mistake, come rushing in and get caught with a counter, and that will be the beginning of the end.
Misha used the word in some of the interviews that she's a fighter. You know, she's going to come and fight, and she's a dirty fighter is a word that she used actually.
Right,
and this is not a dirty fight. I always say this isn't bar fighting. This isn't street fighting.
Exactly.
This is the best of the best on the world stage. That's of right. Skill, technique, physicality, and like she's a little sloppy when she takes that approach, and she gets wide open, and she opens up her stance, opens up her hands, and I think Holly's going to just come straight down the middle, as a highly skilled striker would do. We come straight down the middle when the other person's opened up and starts throwing wild looping punches, and that's going to make the night probably shorter than we think.
That's right. Once she gets hit, she's going to get upset, she's going to get emotional, and she's going to do things that are not in the game plan. And that's going to be lights out, I think. It should be 2 rounds most.
Yeah. I mean, you would like to see Misha win a bout. She's been, I don't know if you call her a journey woman. We call it a journeyman in the men's division. So I call it a journey woman. But she's been in the game for so long. She's had so many fights. And she's never quite been at the top, you know? She's always been one step down from the top, which is a hard way to live your life, right?
Right.
You've always been just so close that just quite haven't made it there.
Knocking on the door of greatness, but just can't quite.
Yeah. So I would actually like to see her win, but I don't think, again, as a non-betting man, I'm going definitely with Holly Holm on that one.
Yeah, Holly Holm all the way. Wouldn't like to see Misha win. Team Holly. I like what Coach Winklejohn has helped create in Holly Holm. I think she's one of the greatest examples of sportsmanship and good character, and I'd like to see her have a long run, and I'd like to see a rematch with her and Ronda Rousey. So
apparently that's in the works, but yeah. I don't think Ronda's going to beat Holly on her best day, just from what I saw in that last fight. Unless she comes with a whole new camp and a whole new game plan. I don't think it's going to happen. But you never know. Ronda didn't look like she was in the best of shape for that fight either. I mean, you know how it is when you get to the top, because, you know, you've been at the top as a world champion yourself, right? You know, like the responsibilities and the distractions that go with it. And, you know, we've been in this game so long with physical performance that, you know, we like to sit there and look at someone and go, I can tell if they're in shape or not. Mm-hmm. You know, and she just didn't look in great shape when they fought, and it just showed through the whole fight. And, you know, one of the big things with fighting, when you're in shape, it's not just about performing, it's also about being able to recover when you get hit. You know, if you take a shot and it stuns you and you're in shape, you know, the body's a pretty amazing thing. If it's prepared and trained for that, it'll recover pretty quickly.
Right.
But if you haven't been training, you're not in shape, and you take a vicious shot, like, you don't recover the same way, like, quickly in that moment to keep going and keep doing that fight. So kind of an interesting way to look at it.
I'd like to give Ronda a lot more credit than people are giving her, and I think it's a good segue for us to get into the whole concept of the mind and the importance of a proper mindset. Ronda is a world-class athlete, an Olympic medalist. Not too many people can say that, and to win at the national level, win at the international level, compete at the Olympic Games, come just one step close to winning a gold medal. I mean, that's a huge achievement. You can't do that if you're not mentally strong. So she had one loss, and everybody's immediately dismissing her as yesterday's news. Nothing could be further from the truth. This girl is a champion. She's just faced a little bit of adversity. She'll come back. I actually do think that she can beat a Holly Holm, and people seem to forget that in the first round, she took her down, almost had the arm, and, you know, hot environment, sweaty arms, she lost it. But she wasn't that bad in the first round. There were some things I would have obviously changed. If I was her coach, I wouldn't have said beautiful work, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But I think with her grappling pedigree, if she gets a hold of Holly Holm, she can submit her. And it's just a matter of finding a way to close that gap, better head movement with her boxing, and get her hands on her. And I think the outcome could be different.
Okay, so here's the question for you then. I don't disagree, which sounds like I'm backpedaling on what I said, but you have a tendency to always get in my head and make me backpedal because you're so analytical and stuff. But I'm going to backpedal on this and say, for her to win, does she need to change camps? Does she need to work with a different coach? I mean, working with the team she's worked with, she's gotten so far. She's obviously was undefeated. She was incredible. She still is incredible as an athlete.
Right.
Does she need to change camps to come back a fresh start? Because some fighters like to do that. Do you think that is necessarily the case?
I think that's a great question, and I'm going to emphatically say no. She does not need to change camps. Edgar Targaryen, I think that's his name, her head coach, has done an incredible job of taking a world-class judo player and transforming her into a legitimate mixed martial artist. And we should not be so quick to jump off the bandwagon just because there was one bad performance and just because there wasn't the best advice in between round 1 and round 2 during that championship fight against Holly Holm. He's done a great job. That said, a lot of improvements need to be made. And I think it would make good sense to bring in certain athletes into the camp, to bring in an assistant coach to complement what Targaryen's doing. But I think the relationship between him and Rousey, super strong. He's played an instrumental role in helping her keep that championship mindset. I believe he's playing an instrumental role in this process of recovering from a loss, recovering from adversity, and coming back stronger. And I think a lot of people are too quick to jump ship when the shit hits the fan. Jump ship when things don't go their way and say, oh, this coach is garbage. It doesn't help that her mother is saying that she needs to leave that coach as well. But I think I've got full confidence in Edgar. Is it Targaryen or Targaryen?
You know what? As you're saying it, it doesn't sound right, but
Yeah.
I can't think of exactly how to say his name either.
Ronda's head coach.
Yeah,
We'll call him Eddie.
We'll call
Eddie.
him that. Well, you look at, and without pulling up the research here, but the question always comes in: what other champions has he produced in the UFC or in the MMA field, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm just being a devil's advocate here. Mm-hmm. You go to Holly Holm. She has a pretty familiar team.
Yes.
You might have heard of them before.
Yes.
John Winklejohn.
Absolutely.
And
Mr. Greg Jackson. Absolutely.
And they have a few champions under their belts.
Absolutely.
They have some incredible champions.
Absolutely.
And they have a history of producing champions.
They
so,
do.
You go back to Ronda's camp, and it's kind of like the one pony show, right? And it's like sometimes when you're isolated like that, the pressure builds. You don't have as other world-class athletes with you. It's an important thing, I think. Like, when I used to compete, one of the things that was awesome was when you have a team and there's a whole bunch of other people preparing for a high-level fight, it kind of takes the pressure off you a little bit, and you can share the pressures. You can share what the experiences that you're going through, win, lose, or draw, and it's great. Like you see, right, even right now, like Nate Diaz has been leveraging the strength of his team in all of his interviews. Like that's where his confidence is coming from. Mm-hmm. He's defaulted from, I'm physically prepared. I've done everything I could do, to prepare for this fight, because that's obviously not the case. And he's now defaulted to, I have the best team. I've been training with some of the best guys. There's a Scrap Pack, I think is their name.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
That's right,
His brother, you got Melendez, you got
Jake Shields.
I mean, these are all bona fide
killers.
And when in doubt, we go back to how can you find confidence? And you find confidence in your coaching. You find confidence in your team. You find confidence in your preparation. And I feel like Ronda might be missing that element in her team. And I don't think she needs to jump ship per se, but I do agree with what you said, is she needs to bring in potentially some other people, some other high level people, whether it's coaches or fellow athletes or fighters, to kind of bring up the total stock and total value of that camp,
right,
to help prepare her, so she's not just kind of the one pony show.
I think that makes good sense. I would also say, whenever the question around who else has a particular coach trained, at one point Greg Jackson didn't have a champion, and at one point Mike Winklejohn didn't have a champion in their stable. Everyone has to start at some point, and we still have to give Ronda's coach full credit. I mean, he rejected Rousey the first dozen times that she approached him to train her. Ultimately, he made that decision, and with the help of her amazing talent, they really built something special. It wasn't Ronda being successful in spite of her coaching. It was Ronda being successful in part because of her great talent, and also the coaching job of Eddie Targaryen.
Eddie. We're going to call him Eddie, or default to Eddie right now.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So I think I would agree with you. I think bringing in additional talent is going to be helpful. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be an easy fight. Holly is the standard right now in women's MMA, and Rousey's going to have to bring her absolute best to have a chance.
Well, an interesting dynamic that could happen is Miesha Tate beats Holly, gets the belt, then Ronda has to fight Miesha.
Yes.
And then the winner of that will in turn fight Holly.
That could very well happen.
Yeah.
Holly could have a bad night tonight.
Yeah.
Miesha could get the belt. I don't see it happening, but anything is possible in a fight. And it could be Rousey, Tate 3.
Yeah.
And then a rematch of Holly and Rousey.
I think
which would
women's
be huge.
MMA needs that.
That's
exciting. If Holly just wins, it's kind of like this whole like the same champion for so long. And some people love that, but some people don't like that. I don't know. That's an interesting conversation to have. Is would you rather have someone just dominate?
Right.
You know, a la when Ronda Rousey, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, Floyd Mayweather.
Yep.
Would you like to see kind of the ups and the downs and the interactions? And I think the pool of athletes is so small, especially right now in the women's divisions, that they kind of have to recycle. It's a constant recycling process, right? So if you can recycle the best ones in there constantly, like that's how you're going to make it, versus throwing in kind of these, you know, no disrespect, but no-name people,
right?
No one's really ever heard of,
right? And
they're just getting eaten for lunch.
Agreed. It's going to be an interesting night tonight. Where are you going to watch the fights today, sir? Done? Okay. All right. We want. Oh, okay. That's okay. That's our cue. Got it.
All right.
So we wanted to touch a bit on mindset and the role that strong mindset, positive mindset, resilient mindset plays in performance and being successful in athletics and being successful at life. And I know that all the clients that you train, that's a big aspect of the training. It's a big aspect of your approach. Maybe you could touch a little bit on the way you approach mindset training and how you integrate that into your overall coaching philosophy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the first thing we always start with is kind of the mindset approach. You have to start with that. If you don't root that, if you don't ground that, if you don't build a foundation in that, nothing is going to come through that's going to be, you know, success at the end of the day. You have to start with that. It builds off of everything. Everything feeds off of that. So we root kind of in the, why the hell are you doing this kind of mindset. You know, that's how it has to start. And why do you want to be a fighter? Why do you want to compete at CrossFit? Why do you want to do a fitness show? Why do you want to play in the NHL? You know, whatever that is, we have to really find the root answer to that. And it usually requires some drilling down. I mean, when I ask the athlete that question, first and foremost, I often get kind of deer in headlights. Yeah. And you can really recognize it right there, you know, to say, who would you bet on being successful versus probably not getting there? And the people that immediately have an answer for you, and they probably have never even really heard that question specifically, you know that they're one step ahead. They're one step ahead of the game because they have clarity and they have purpose and they have direction. So once we kind of drill down and say, why do you want to do that? That kickstarts the mindset development process. So from there, we have to build strategies. You know, for me, mindset is never about randomization, right? It's just like anything, like strategies and mindset aren't about, okay, relax. I hate when I hear that. I hate when I see fighters in the corner and their coach is like, okay, relax. Because like, what the hell does that mean? Relax to me is go home, sit on the couch, watch Netflix and eat some chips, you know, like that's what relaxing is. But I can't do that right now because I got to go out and fight. So we build technical strategies involved. When I say do this, you know exactly what to do. And that helps to build the mindset of the athlete so they can in turn execute come game day.
Agreed. I like that approach, and I agree wholeheartedly. Actions are what are needed, or what is needed, to help an athlete in tough situations. Not just words like relax or settle down. You need actual strategies that you can apply to help you in any situation.
Yeah, definitely.
We're looking at the 90-second mark. So one thing I'd like to do is send a shout out to Mr. Jason Henry, founder of iLive Radio, for having us here. And this has just been a test thing, but really enjoyed the experience. And we're looking forward to recording our first radio show later this month, and looking forward to future shows with my co-host, Coach G, at iLive Radio.
Definitely. I couldn't have said it better.